the reasons why the East Midlands Chamber asked me to participate and join with them on their awards this year, so that we could pass on some of our knowledge to you as the entrants and as the local businesses and the regional businesses who are wanting to achieve some good results in the awards this year. If you've got any questions during the webinar, please drop them and email me them at the end. The email address will be given at the end, but just for now, it's info@pureawardscreative.com. Like I say, it'll be on one of the last slides at the end anyway, so don't worry too much about that. But do make a note of any of the questions that you have as we go along, and drop me a line later. Because we only have 40 minutes or so for this webinar itself, and we've got quite a lot to get through. And I think if we going through asking questions and answering questions, we'll probably go over our time limit. So, okay, so let's make a start. So today we've got a plan here which is going to be looking at an overview of the benefits of the East Midlands Chamber Business Awards. We'll be looking in a bit more detail of how you can stand out from the crowd, and by doing that through use of your time, through defining your story and success, and also doing a bit of a skills check at the end. And then there'll be some next steps and some offers at the end bespoke to you who've attended today. Okay, so the East Midlands Chamber Business Awards, they are the only awards in the region that are delivered purely by business for business, and they recognise, reward and celebrate business excellence of Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire and Leicestershire. Now you're judged within your local region, within the bigger region, so there'll be 3 dinners, one for Derbyshire, one for Nottinghamshire and one for Leicestershire. But you'll be part of the overall East Midlands Chamber Business Awards. By shortlisting or winning an award, it will certainly raise your profile, it'll boost staff morale, it showcases your successes to all of your stakeholders, to your customers, to your clients, to your suppliers, but also your prospects, which is highly important too. And it does tend to set you apart from your competitors. It gives you that third-party endorsement, which helps you say that you are successful and say you are the best, and proving it as well. It will help you to grow and develop your company as well, and there is marked difference in the financial return of winning an award, which can be demonstrated straight after, within the first year of winning the award. And it also gives you a chance, by going through on this process, by going through to the national awards as well, British Chamber of Commerce Awards. So you get 2 bites of the cherry ultimately, and that there is a £10,000 cash prize at the end of that one. So if you do win on a regional basis and then win the National Business of the Year in the national ones, then that £10,000 is a lot of money, which I'm sure that you could do a massive amount in your business with. So it's definitely worth considering. So why you should enter this year? Well, this is a fact, and this has come from a study which has tracked 120 companies across a 3-year period after winning an award, and it compares them against similar companies that didn't win anything or didn't go anywhere with their awards. And there are really interesting figures that came back from this study, with figures of increases of 39% in the sales turnover just after 1 year of winning that award. Now, of course, that comes down to a lot of how you market yourselves, having won the award, but there are substantial differences that can be experienced for each business. And because the awards are free to enter, there's no additional cost to enter, to the awards process itself. It's definitely worth doing. There's categories across all sizes, sectors, and it does help to boost the productivity of your team once you've got that shortlist and once you've got that win. And obviously we want to look after our staff, because they will ultimately look after our customers, just as Richard Branson has said. And as part of this partnership offer as well that we're looking with the Chamber, we're giving a reduced fee support for anybody who wanted us to do a critique on your work before you get it submitted, or we could write it in full for you if you really felt that you needed that assistance as well. So looking at different ways you can stand out from the crowd. As I said earlier, we're looking at time. So we're looking at some time management tips and techniques and how you can relate these to the awards and some of the things that I do. We're looking at how you can define your story and your success by breaking it down into smaller bite-sized chunks, looking at where to then how that influences your category choice, and then looking at some skills that you can just keep on track, keep you on track for actually putting the entry together. So I like this slide because I just think it makes you realise and makes you look at how important you really feel the awards are. Now there'll be people in your business who probably don't really value you taking the time out to put the awards in. Hopefully you'll be able to prove to them by doing this process and by getting that entry shortlisted and winning that the benefits are there not just for an individual person, but it's for the whole business itself. So it's about you writing the award. It's about how important you think it is and how you can adjust your diary accordingly to ensure that you've put the time there to make it happen. Okay, so the deadline for the entries is 5 o'clock on Tuesday the 31st of May. So that's 34 days away, including weekends and bank holidays, 22 working days, or perhaps 18 working days if you're off during the spring bank holiday at the end of May. So the question really is, how much time have you allocated in your diary to complete the entries so far? And this really isn't meant to put you off, but you do need to ensure you've got the right amount of time there to do it. Because it's always a big challenge for us and we always think, oh yes, we'll get it done, and then it comes to the last minute pressure. But I want you to just realise that never underestimate how much time it can take to put an entry together. And if you're doing it completely from scratch, then you're probably looking at about 12 to 18 hours to put it together, to prepare it to a final finished product that you're really happy with. You need to allow the time for editing and proofreading. And if you can, which is what's always good to try and do, is try to bring the deadline forward by at least a week, and that will allow for any contingencies. Now, bearing in mind we've only got 22 working days, might be a bit of a push to do that, but it is still possible, so you can complete it. And then another way that you can make sure that you're not losing any content as you're drafting and readjusting and reworking some of the content is to make sure that you're saving each document as version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Because you'll start off with a lot of words at the beginning and then you'll be refining it down into what you really want in content-wise. But if you can constantly saving over and over on the same document, then you're going to lose all that content from the beginning, and you might actually need that for a future award entry. So it'll save you a lot of time if you can keep all of that as backup. This is just a quick snapshot of the entry guidelines. So whether you can download these off the website, off the East Midlands Chamber Business Awards website. But in short, you've basically got 2,000 words to answer your questions. And you can add in a maximum of 5 additional attachments, graphs, tables, photos, etc. But be aware you can't put any web links in because they won't be activated by any of the judging panel. So take the content from the web links and integrate that into the work that you've got, and make sure that the attachments really are only relevant to what you're talking about. Photographs can be a bit tricky. They've got to be really relevant. Don't go and waste the opportunity to put in something that's really valuable there. If it's just going to muddy the waters a little bit and just confuse the message, then just don't bother putting those attachments in at all. But it's sometimes quite nice to break up the text and to demonstrate a clear point for you, particularly when you're talking about financials and things like that. So the entry form itself looks a bit like this, and this is the one that's taken for the Social Impact Award. There's a number of different questions that are set out, and it's quite nicely set out because it's got you've got the full kind of company information at the beginning, your turnover figures, that sort of thing, and then you've got into the nitty-gritty of the award entry itself. With having the questions outlined like that, it makes it really clear for you to be able to answer the questions very clearly, rather than it being, say, 2,000 words on why your company is brilliant, which then it's up to you to create the structure. Well, the structure is already created for you, which makes it a little bit more manageable and also helps you to bite-size it a little bit as well, which makes writing it in section by section a little bit easier. So this is something that I would recommend before you even start doing anything, and it's to keep in line with the word count. And it is important to understand the word count and make sure that you don't go over on it. So what you can do is count up the number of questions on your entry form and divide 2,000 words by that particular number. So in this case, I've used 7. It gives you about 280 words per answer. And it really just helps you to make sure that you're not going over on your word count, and it makes sure that you're still being quite concise. And then each question has either 2, 3, or 4 key points that need to be covered within that question as well. So then you divide the 280 by the number of points that you've got. So say we use 3, we've got 93 words per key point there. So it really helps you time-wise to just do, answer that one question, answer those 2 criteria questions, get those nailed. And you can start to do that across a number of days. So if you don't have that block of, say, 12 to 18 hours where you can just lock yourself away in the room and get it done, then you can sort of spread this across a number of days, and you'll be able to achieve it and be a bit more time efficient and be able to get on with all your other work as well. So these questions here are basically the questions that you'll find on every single entry form. They're the standard questions which give an idea of what your business is, what your service, product, etc. is, what market you're in, trend in sales turnover, any events that have led to any changes in that. So, have you reduced your team, which has increased your profits? Have you expanded your team, which has reduced your profits, but it's enabling you to increase your sales? So, it's an explanation. It just sets the scene. But also to be aware that if you are looking at just entering one award on this occasion, you might want to look at perhaps 2 or 3, because if you've done this for one award on these first 3 questions, you've done it for all the awards that you're going to enter on those 3 questions. So you've actually completed about 30% or 40% of the entry form before you've even started. So that will allow you a bit more time to then perhaps complete another category. And then the more categories you enter, the bigger chance you've got, of getting some kind of recognition and shortlist, which is great, and obviously give you some more benefit as well. So some of the time management techniques that I use to help me write some entries, we've got the single handling technique. Now this is really, really effective. It means that you have to turn all your phones off, your Wi-Fi off, completely get rid of any distractions. So get rid of your Outlook and notifications and things on everywhere. And it means that you basically concentrate single-mindedly on your most important task. And that can actually reduce the time required to complete that task by about 50%, sometimes more. So it does have an effect, but it means that you can focus entirely on that particular task. Don't let yourself get distracted by everything else. Focus on that, complete it, and then move on to the next thing. And if you do that with each question or each section of the question, and you have that mindset around focusing in on that, then you'll get some real benefit and you'll be able to rattle through these a lot quicker. Einstein time in itself, and this is quite an interesting theory and a concept, and I would encourage you to go away and do a little bit of research on this, because it's quite, like I say, it is quite an interesting concept. And it's basically around the fact that we own the time, and we ultimately can control how much time we need to complete a task, rather than being controlled by the time around us that constrains us almost into doing it in a certain time. So as I say, it is an interesting theory. There's a lot better explanation out there on YouTube and things as well. So I would encourage you to have a look at that. But it's about, yeah, like I say, it's about owning your own time and being able to be more efficient within that time. As we know, a 10 to 1 return on planning, absolutely true. So I would recommend that you put all your information in advance of you sitting down to write any of the award categories, entries and answers. There will be little bits of information that you'll probably need as you go through, but if you can do as much of the collation beforehand in terms of testimonials and things as well, that just helps to give you a different perspective on how you're actually then going to put that down on paper. And then the last one is eat that frog. And if any of you have heard of Brian Tracy, obviously he's a time management guru, well, he talks about eating that frog. And awards can be a big, slimy, fat-looking frog sat on your desk, and you know that the deadline is looming. And while ever the deadline is looming, that frog is getting bigger and smellier and more disgusting. I would highly, highly recommend that you tackle any of the award writing stuff in the morning rather than the afternoon. Get it done early on in the day, and even if it's just one question on the entry form, if you do that once a day for 7 days, you'll have completed it, you know, and you'll be way ahead. And then it's just a case of proofreading, editing, and doing any amendments like that. But you'll really get on top of it that way. It helps to break it down and not feel like such a horrible task as well. Okay, so now we're going to look at defining your story. And with this, you really need to look back on what you've achieved in the last 12 months, just as much as you need to make sure that the award win or shortlist is going to be relevant for your business going forward. So this also helps to influence what your category choice is as well. So the categories for this year are in 3 sections. So we've got business improvement, engagement, and performance. And when you're choosing a category, you want to think how you want to be seen and what you want to be recognised for. You've got to be clear about which category is going to help you market your business going forward in the next couple of years as well. So, for instance, if you're wanting to do a recruitment drive and if you're wanting to attract some really high caliber people, then perhaps you want to look at being a quality employer of the year. It would be relevant not only for what you've achieved over the last year, but it would also be relevant in terms of being able to attract some quality people to the business to grow. Also, you might want to look at the small business. A lot of the small business criteria on this occasion is up to 75 employees. So for me, that's bigger, slightly bigger than what I would consider as a small business. So you have to think, are your customers and clients and prospects big players? Do you want to be seen as a small business targeting the big players? So perhaps small business of the year might not be quite the right category for you on this occasion. You might want to look at something else where it's customer service, entrepreneur, social impact, something like that. Something that's slightly different and that can give you a different edge that will resonate well with your target audience in terms of sales, you know, and growth, as well as what you know, can show the excellence within your business over the last year. So this is just just for interest, really, just to give you an idea of the different category details there are there. And when you're starting to look at the criteria, if you want to, I mean, all of this information is available on the website, on the East Midlands Chamber Business Awards website, so you can collect it from there. But you can write down the key points and make a note of under each point what your success story is for that particular, and that will help you identify which is the best category for you to go for. If you've got lots of success stories for certain category, you know, then definitely go for that one. If you're struggling with another, then, you know, perhaps leave that for a year and look at it in the future. Okay, so when you're defining your story, these are the key things to look at. So when you're looking at the entry, you need to take some time out, as I've said, to review success over the last 12 months. You need to really be clear as why you're different from your competitors. You need to make some good notes about that. That's just a useful exercise for you in your business anyway, but it will help you show that differentiation and the ways in which that you're doing things differently. Why people buy from you and not from them? What is it that you're doing that's groundbreaking, that's innovative in your business, that's really breaking the mold of your business, industry and sector, and really starting to be a market leader and attracting more market share as well. So look at what your greatest achievements are and why these have been important milestones. So looking at the financial growth, employment, invested in equipment, have you expanded, have you innovated, you know, and all the stats around that. So have you got some statistics that prove all of that? Have you got your evidence there? Have you got some testimonials from your clients, from your staff, from your stakeholders, from your suppliers, from anybody who's connected to your business? Try and get a testimonial from each area, you know, each person who is in a different part of your business, because all of that will give you added weight and added supporting material which you can integrate into your award. And then how far can you drill down and actually analyse that success? So for instance, if you've employed 10 new people from the local area, what's the impact on the economy of that employment in terms of the local spending? And how's your decision to employ somebody enabled them to get onto the property ladder, access better schools? So it's not just about the decisions that you've made in your business and the impact it's had on the business, it's the bigger picture. And it's that where some people can miss a golden opportunity to show the impact of what your business is doing and the success that it's having. So try to see the, you know, the kind of the follow-on process, that, you know, the line of which it can go and how far it can go, and get the detail on that and as much statistics and you know, financial information about the benefit of that on a wider scale. Okay, I just wanted to share, so this slide and the next slide are just examples of two entries which were submitted a couple of years ago to different awards programme. One was shortlisted, well, one won actually, one wasn't placed at all. Now you can probably tell out of the two, just based on word count, which one was the winner and which one wasn't placed at all. But there were some other reasons why, and I just wanted to go through those with you to give you a bit of a broader idea as to what the judges would be looking for and why one was successful and one wasn't. So focusing on this one first, obviously when we're talking about breaking down the criteria into sections and answering each part, it's clear that that wasn't really done. They answered it in minimal detail and it wasn't explained enough. The word count just isn't enough in itself. I would recommend that you try to be within 10% of the total amount, but don't go over. There isn't any evidence in there. There's no testimonials, there's no statistics, there's no figures, any explanation at all to demonstrate why they were successful in that particular category. And there's no story or picture there. There's no setting the scene. There's no reason behind it. You know, it's just a few sentences, and it's really, you know, it doesn't flow very well with any particular style or detail. So it's a real shame that this particular entrant didn't expand on any of these points, because I really think they would have done well, I do know which business is, and I think they would have done well otherwise. So it is a shame. On this one particularly, there were some reasons why it was obviously a very good entry and why it was a winning entry. It is a very clear introduction. It does set the scene nicely. And with it being about a business personality, it's about an individual. So it does show how his style has been embedded into the workplace. It answers the criteria. It talks about leadership and commitment to the business. and it's only 10 words off the word count. It does show all about the interest that this man has, his support of CSR, and also business in general, and it is pretty well written. It's clear and concise. It says a lot in just 390 words. So what I want you to think about when you are producing your entry, I want you to be aware that if you can't answer any of the questions, it could be one of two reasons. And the first one, it could be because you don't actually have the answers in the business, or number two, you might not be the right person writing the entry in the first place. And I think that was what the problem was with the retail award previously, is they just weren't the right person. The answers were in the business, but they weren't the right person to write the entry. And I think it was last minute, and unfortunately, it showed as well. So the process of entering can actually be hugely beneficial, despite what the outcome might be. So I don't want you to discount the fact that if you don't get shortlisted or if you don't win, if you're going forward for the award, you're making progress towards it, providing you're taking the right actions in the right way to do it, like you are today. And do know of companies in the past who have, as a result of going through this process, they didn't actually do well in terms of going past shortlist, so they only got to the shortlist position, but it did make them look quite hard at their business and what was missing in their business, and they completely redesigned their model and found that they then achieved a year's worth of their financial targets within the next 3 months, having made those changes. So it is about making significant changes in your business where necessary at the right time, and you can have a massive impact on the results that you get. So this process can also be a catalyst to much bigger opportunities out there within your business. So the benefit might not be the award at the end, it might be something much bigger than that. It's just about having a go and doing it in the right way. Okay, so with the skills, and this is the final part of the webinar, it's really important to get things right from a technical perspective, should we say. And like I've been saying all along, it is about your story. You've really got to show your story in a compelling, interesting way. So I encourage you to think back to GCSE English days or CSE English days, whichever age gap you might be in, and have a look at what it is in your business and how you can formulate that into a structure that makes sense for the reader. So we're looking here at a beginning, a middle and an end, just like any story, any successful story structure. So we've got to set the scene in the introduction. You've got to create a case study that's got evidence and information to back up the claims, and then a conclusion which is a roundup of your success and achievements. And you should leave the reader feeling elated and excited about your business. You want the judges to think, wow, that's an amazing business. I love that. That's such a great idea. What a fantastic initiative. You know, you want them to be having those conversations in that judging room. You need to be excited about what you're writing. You need to show the passion in your story. You can allow that to come through. So don't be afraid to allow that to come through. But don't speak in jargon, but big up yourself, basically. Don't be afraid to big up yourselves. That's what it's about. It's an award. You have to show and say that you are the best, but you have to give evidence to be able to support that claim. So don't be afraid to say that you are the best, providing you've got that information there to back it up. It's very, very tempting to use lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of words to explain a point, but try not to use too many adjectives in one sentence, as this really can dilute the message. Plus, you might need the word in your award entry, so don't waste too many words on one sentence. This is quite a nice example of how you can say exactly the same thing in very different ways. My preference would be to go for the second one. saying after paying his debts, he still had enough money to set up a small business. It says exactly what we need to know in a very clear and concise way. The first one is a bit too flowery for my liking, and actually was a little bit confusing in how it was presented. So always go for a clear and concise way. Like I say, be under on your word count, not over. Okay, so answering the question, we were always told this at school. We need to remember this now. It's really, really important. In order to answer the question, like I've said, break down the criteria into key points. Answer only what's asked of you. Try not to go off tangent too much. Keep to it. An example of how we can break down criteria into subsections is here. I've taken the criteria for the Skills and Employability Award, and I've highlighted the key points in different colours. So the red point, where it's asking for schools, colleges and further education providers engage effectively with business. Okay, in order to do that and expand on that, you would look at which businesses do you engage with, how many of them, where are they located, why do you work with them, how long have you worked with them, and what's the benefit for both parties. So if you can answer all of those just for that section, you've got some content there ready to use. Again, for the blue section, explain the partnership process with the business. How does it start? What's the progression? How do you interact? What are the results? And do you do anything different to other colleges? So again, you've got a load more content there that you can start utilising through the entry form. For the pink section, to help their pupils gain an understanding of the world of work. Okay, so how do you know what the world of work looks like? What actions are taken to help the pupils? What benefits have been seen already? What results have been experienced already? What new initiatives have you implemented? And what different ways and methods of helping the pupils do you use? Again, it's another section of content which you can then start to draw upon as you're explaining a little bit more detail in the rest of the entry form. And then the final part, I would focus entirely on the top 3 employability skills valued by the employers you work with. So what are they? Why are they important? And how are you ensuring that your activities are meeting those needs? This is where you can give a case study of an example of where it's successful, example of how this has worked with one of the pupils and one of the employers, for instance, and use that then as part of the overall entry form kind of case study information. So that's a way that you can highlight the different parts of the criteria, create almost a load of content there first, and then answer the questions specifically, drawing down on that content that you've already created. Just helps to maximize your time, also gives you a load of information there which you can utilize. Punctuation, grammar, phrasing, really important. In this case, it's going to save somebody's life. If you're recalling the previous entries, those two people have very different writing skills, the one for the retailer and one for the business personality. And they use their knowledge of grammar and punctuation quite differently. One was to absolute benefit, the other, unfortunately, didn't get them placed. It is important, and it is something that if you're not very good at, get somebody who is good at it to proofread it for you and make sure that you are saying and projecting that message that you want to project in the right way. Word count, as we've said about the word count, it is important not to go over. Be clear about that, double check, triple check, get somebody else to check it as well. If there is a set number of words on the front of the entry form that you need to be aware of, so make sure you're just in line with that. The entry form, again, if you need to download it, you can copy this link and download it from here. You can download all of them. As I would say, I would recommend, if you're just looking at one at the moment, I'd recommend you perhaps looking at another 2 or 3 to go for. No harm in doing that. It's just then a case of being able to use your time efficiently to be able to enter them, but I would certainly recommend you have a go. Okay, so quick overview is we've had a look at some time management techniques and some tips, some ways in which you can define your story and success, and some pointers to start you thinking about that, and then how you can keep on top of the entry form and make sure that you're technically, skill-wise, doing that to the best that you can. This is the details if you wanted to email me any points or any questions across. Please feel free to use that email address. We're on Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn as well, so if you want to connect with me that way, that would be brilliant. Or if you wanted to set up a meeting, just by all means, be more than happy to meet you in person. This is the offers, which are only available to those of you who have attended today, so I do appreciate you attending. If you would like a one-to-one telephone strategy session to review your business, very particularly in relation to these awards, then the first 5 people to text me on that number there will get a free one-to-one chat, and we can set that up. And also we're offering you a £50 discount on our critique service in advance of the deadline on the 1st of May. So all entries have got to be received by us by the 16th of May in order so that we can review it and send it back to you, so you've got time to do the amendments and submit it in time before the end of May. So if you would like any of those offers, then please, take up the chance to have that support. It's the end of the webinar now, so thank you very much for attending. We very much hope that you've got some benefit out of this, and we look forward to seeing you in future webinars. Thank you very much.